Today we're driving the 2023 BMW M340i xDrive sedan. This is one of my favorite sports sedans on the market. I might even have it over an M3. It's that good. Let's start it up. I'll walk you around it. We'll take it for a drive, and let's talk about what this has been like to live with this week. Is this the ultimate daily driver in the luxury sports sedan segment? It just might be. So BMW's made quite a few changes to this 3 Series for the 23 model year. We have iDrive 8, some new appearance on the exterior. This now has a 48-volt mild hybrid system for the M340i. And of course, this one's all-wheel drive and xDrive configuration. Starting price for the xDrive M340i is around $58,000. This is priced up to about $68,000 with options. Some of those options are unnecessary. Some of them are pretty good. I'll list everything in the description so you guys can see what that looks like. And there's a few things that are lacking in this car, like adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, stuff like that. But for the most part, this is a really, really solid daily driver. It has a 3-liter twin-power turbocharged inline-six, the B58 that we know and love. Makes 382 horsepower and sounds fantastic. This is painted in Melbourne Red Metallic. Really nice looking color. We're on a set of Pirelli Sato Zero winter tires today. You can see some of the changes with the front end, a little bit more black. This has the Shadowline exterior trim, so the kidney grills are blacked out, and we have the 50th anniversary M badge here on the front. Pretty good looking front end in my opinion. They haven't gone overboard with the kidney grille. I still think this is one of BMW's best looking models. Rear end is classic, nice looking diffuser. Yeah, a good looking sedan. We drove one of these a few years ago, and it was just one of my favorite cars of the year. Very similar configuration to this. And I've got to say, with some of the updates in 2023, still one of my favorite cars. The back of the 3 Series isn't cavernous, but it's enough space. I'm 5'10", seated behind my driving position. I have plenty of legroom, about 1.5 inches of headroom. Rear climate controls. We get a little armrest here with a couple of cup holders. There we go. Nice looking sunroof that's a little bit larger than most. We have a pretty nice looking interior on this M340i. Good use of materials, nice ergonomics. I'm really getting used to this new iDrive 8 system, finding it pretty user-friendly on a daily basis. We'll talk about that a bit more later on in this video. Not the biggest fan of these new micro shifters that Porsche and BMW are putting in their cars, but I mean, I guess it works and it does free up some visual space in the interior. I would just like a gear selector to kind of use at a moment's notice. I do like this contrast blue stitching, that looks nice. And the rest of this is pretty classic BMW, no major surprises. Trunk pops up on its own. Decent amount of space back there, folding rear seats. And I don't think we get much going on here underneath this deck lid. Here's our user manual. Little grab handle underneath for the trunk, which is great. Taillights look really sharp. I mean, this is a pretty good looking sedan. Front grille is a little bit controversial, but I mean, it's BMW. It wouldn't be one without it. This big black slab up here is kind of strange, but it does look good with these intakes kind of squared off. I don't know. I'm a fan of the front end. I think it looks pretty good. The lights look great. Those DRLs are really sharp. Let's pop the hood. Take a look at this 3-liter twin-power turbocharged inline-six. It's rated for 23 miles to the gallon in the city, 32 on the highway. This week on the highway, I was averaging as high as 34, 35 mpg. Pretty impressive stuff from this B58. Looks really good. Sounds amazing. Surprisingly efficient. Love, love, love this powertrain. You can't switch this xDrive into rear-wheel drive like you can with the M cars, but it is a 60 or a 40-60 rear biased system. So you can slide it around a little bit, and the handling of this chassis is so enjoyable. We get a number of different drive modes, just like we do in a lot of other BMW products. Comfort, Eco Pro, which is the most efficient. Comfort's kind of a balanced, normal, everyday driving setting. Sport, Sport Plus, and Sport Individual. You can configure Individual with a bunch of different parameters. Damping, steering, drivetrain, all that good stuff. We still get our iDrive selector wheel here, which works great. Nice menu organization with all of your vehicle apps, infotainment apps. You can see everything in here at once if you so choose. Wireless CarPlay, Android Auto, works really well, no complaints there. As a touchscreen, generally this is a really fast and responsive system. Love that. And we get a constant home icon there to the left. Steering wheel, heat function really blasts the heat, warms up your hands really quickly. Here's what our climate menu looks like. Very simple, very minimal. I do like this quite a bit. The only complaint is I wish you could change the auto air circulation at a little bit of a moment's notice without having to go into the climate menu and going through a couple different things. So if you're following a stinky semi-truck or a diesel car, it'd be nice to just press a button, have recirculation going, and not have to go through menus. Otherwise, haven't had any complaints with the climate. If you want to turn on your heated seats and everything in this car, that's pretty easy. Usually there's an icon right there if things are cold. When you first start up the vehicle, you can turn it on, turn it off. It'll automatically come on. It works great. Down here you've got your wireless charging along with a couple of cup holders. Not the best location, but I mean, it's a BMW. Cup holders and water bottles aren't a priority. Down here though, you've got a nice water bottle holder, place to pop the trunk. Here's what our reverse camera and 360 camera looks like. Nice and high res, turning lines. You've got a 3D view that you can kind of scroll around the car. That's always fun. Again, a bit of a gimmick, but a neat feature nonetheless. Nice amount of storage in here too. USB-C ports, though I haven't really needed them this week. The wireless charging works awesome. Here's our glove box. Bunch of different options on this M340i xDrive. $68,470 as tested. All right, I think that's enough of a walk around. Let's put this back into comfort mode, take it for a drive, and see how it is on the road. I really like the driving position, this M340i. These seats aren't the most comfortable. They're kind of on the hard side. They do have a lot of adjustment though. You can adjust the side bolsters, this little piece down here to collect crumbs in. And I found a pretty comfortable driving position this week, but I think on a longer road trip, the hardness of these seats might wear on you just a bit. That said though, I'm nice and low on the car. Steering wheel adjustment is great, comes right up to my chest. You can hear there the stop-start system coming on almost immediately as soon as you let off your foot from the brake pedal. This is probably the quickest and best tuned 48-volt mild hybrid system that I've driven in terms of stop-start performance. It's really impressive. Sneak back over into here. Let's throw this into sport mode. You have a couple different transmission programs, regular drive and sport. Sport will keep the revs up just a little bit higher. Give us quicker shifts. Very linear and responsive power from this engine. Pedal shifters are immediate. And this 8-speed auto, oh man, the ZF 8-speed is just a fantastic drivetrain. It's quick too. Kind of sneaks up on you a little bit. The torque here is addictive. It's a fun car to drive. Turn off traction, stability control, slide it around a little bit. It is a really good time behind the wheel. You can hear some subtle burbles and pops from the exhaust off throttle. Kind of a bumpy section here. Ride quality is on the firmer side, but it's not punishing. And you do have adaptive dampers that you can choose and select different levels of firmness, whether you're in sport mode, sport individual, etc. Brakes feel good. We're definitely a little bit traction limited today with these winter tires. There's a lot of communication through the steering wheel over bumps. A little bit of vibration. Not a whole lot of steering feel at the limit, but you get a lot of kind of texture from the road surface, which I think is engaging, is exciting, is interesting for the driver. Let's do a quick launch control. Ready? Dragging shifts there a little bit on launch. Pretty quick to 60 miles per hour. That is a lot of fun. I just love the way this thing handles. It is so good around a corner, and we're on winter tires today. On throttle, it gets really nice and neutral with a little hint of oversteer, very controllable. Just can't beat the sound of this 3-liter inline-six. I love it. I absolutely love it. Even left to its own devices in sport mode, makes really nice shift decisions. Test out the ride here in comfort mode. Pretty bumpy section of pavement. You notice we have a few different gauge cluster displays. There's this kind of minimal display. Eco Pro switches things up, turns things kind of a cooler blue temperature in the cabin. And then of course Sport and Sport Plus gets really stiff. Let's go into Sport Normal. And we get this gauge cluster. Do I miss the traditional round BMW gauges? Yeah, a little bit. They were so iconic, orange at night, but these look pretty good. The graphics in these displays, the resolution is absolutely stunning. It's a pretty nice looking car to spend time in. Let's configure individual. We'll put our damping into comfort. Steering in sport, drivetrain, transmission, everything else in sport. I like that mode. Exhaust sounds really nice in sport mode. I don't know if you get a little bit of piped in noise or not. It sounds pretty authentic to my ear. This M340i has a lightness and a nimbleness to it that is really refreshing. It just kind of feels like it's about the right size on the road. It's easy to place. It's just fun and enjoyable to hustle around. Check out the stop start here. It might not engage in sport mode, but if we go into Eco Pro, it just turns off. As soon as I let off the brake pedal, the RPMs just rise up immediately. It's pretty awesome. Very efficient powertrain for the amount of power and performance that this thing puts out. Pretty amazing. All right, back into Sport Plus. See if we can throw a corner at this. So neutral. I love it. We're getting some snow on the ground tomorrow. I'm kind of hoping that I can give you guys a snowy drive video in this M340 on the winter tires with the xDrive all-wheel drive. I think it would just be a really capable all-weather car. It's reasonably quiet on the highway too. 70 miles an hour. Again, unfortunately, no adaptive cruise control. We do have lane keep assist, but no lane centering system, no lane change system here. You'd at least think adaptive cruise control and lane centering would be standard on your $58,000 BMW, but again, it's not. Super easy ergonomics here though on the steering wheel. Lovely to use in the real world. We get a number of different displays here on the center cluster. So you can choose between compass, map, fuel economy, speed. There's also a head-up display, but I have that turned off. The head-up display is actually pretty sharp looking. Let's show you what that looks like real quick. So we can go into our vehicle apps, displays, head-up display, turn that on, and it shows up right there. It's full color, really high res. It shows you a lot of nice information. More entrance ramp, down into sport mode. One nice feature is when you do enable cruise control, let's say you've got traction control turned off, it will turn traction control back on automatically, so you don't have to go in, turn traction control back on, then engage cruise control. It'll just do that all on its own. There are also some pretty neat shift lights here when you hit redline, if you're in manual mode. pedals are so responsive that they do make it pretty easy to change gear at the limit right before you're about to hit rev limiter. And in manual mode, it will hold gears up to red line, which is pretty cool. Honestly, as a daily driver, I kind of prefer this to an M3. It's just about the right amount of power. It's fun to drive. It's not as harsh and hardcore and rough to drive around as an M3 is. It's a bit more comfortable. It kind of does everything a little bit better. Yes, it's not as hardcore, it's not as high performance, not as fast, but I would argue overall, it's maybe the better car for more people. And you save quite a bit of money too. Alright guys, so there's a drive on the BMW M340i. Probably my favorite car in this segment. I also really enjoy driving the Genesis G70. That was a little bit more playful, a bit more tail happy, pretty drifty to be honest, but I don't know, this BMW 3 Series just kind of does it all the best. And this new 2023 model still is a really nice option. Overall, driving dynamics, looks, I mean, if you want a brand new car, the new iDrive 8 is great. I think it looks good. But if you want to save a little bit of money and get a 3 Series that's a few years old without the 48-volt mild hybrid, you're still going to get a really nice car too. I'm just glad that BMW didn't go and ruin anything in this new M340. They've kept the formula and they've kept it a really nice vehicle to live with on a day-to-day basis. So I would consider buying one of these as a daily. I think you'd be able to have a little bit of fun in it on a back road, on a road trip, maybe even take it out to the track. And in the winter, it's got to be just amazing in the snow. And hopefully we'll get a chance to test that later this week. If you want to stick around for a few more minutes, we'll do a quick sound system test and just drive this car around a little bit without any talking. One interesting thing is if you've had the car off for a while, you'll hear the starter kick on, turn the engine on, but if you've only turned off the car for a couple minutes, the mild hybrid system will turn the car on, which is kind of cool. So no starter noise sometimes. Alright, there are two areas where I think this M340i falls a bit short. One, it would be nice to have adaptive cruise control standard, so some features could be standard that you have to pay optional extras for. And two, the sound system, the Harman Kardon, just isn't very good in this 3 Series. In the i4, it's excellent. In this, not so great. Let's go in and take a quick listen to that. We get volume controls here on the steering wheel.